Hi everybody, welcome to the Pagan Perspective. My name is Tatiana, this is Subs Week, and this week we're discussing whether you should worry about creating the perfect ritual in order to bring the right kind of energies to your magic working. The question this week comes from, I don't have a name, I'm sorry, but the viewer asks, hey, I have a question. When practicing witchcraft of any kind, what are the best sure ways to make clear you are attracting the right energy you want helping you and not any negative or unwanted forces to get involved? Okay, so to answer this, I think it's imperative that we talk about the importance of ritual, or even the purpose of ritual in the first place. I think one should have clarity on why we create rituals and ceremonies to work magic, so that they don't fear these rituals and ceremonies. And to me, the function of ritual or ceremony to work magic is to awaken our magical mind, which consists of expanded consciousness and heightened senses. And I say magical mind because I've read it on books before and I don't have a better term for what I mean. But this state, it's not only a state of mind, and it's more a whole body experience. Almost like getting in touch with that primitive, raw, instinctive self that we eventually lose in everyday modern life. It's about becoming one again with nature and being aligned with the cosmos. And when we experience this magical state of being, we can feel the god and the goddess with us, beside us, and also within us. If you wish to read from a book interesting information about ritual, I highly recommend Scott Cunningham's Guide to the Solitary Practitioner. There's a passage here that I like very much. Okay, so he's talking here about the magical circle, and he says, though the circle is thought of as being between the worlds and a meeting place with the goddess and the god, we needn't create such psychic temples to commune with the deities of nature, nor do they appear when called like pets. Wiccan ritual, and I'd like to extend this to any kind of magical ritual, is used to expand our awareness of them, of the goddess and the god, not the other way around. So you don't have to fear that the god and the goddess will not be with you during your ritual if you do not invite them in the proper manner, in the correct manner. They are always with you and inside you. You're not alone and exposed to dangerous energies and entities when you are working your ritual. The ritual itself has the purpose of making you aware of the goddess and the god, and not the other way around. Scott Cunningham, he also says, no angry deities will descend unless you use rites calling for blood or death, or living sacrifices, or perform magic that harms or twists others to your will. Another thing that I think it's important I mention is that you should be careful not to get too attached to pre-written rituals and very formulaic books. For example, this book, The Witch's Bible, which is excellent if you want to read more about traditional Wicca, like the Gardnerian Wicca and Alexandrian Wicca. Although it's an excellent book, it's also very stuffy and formulaic. So the authors give you a series of instructions on gestures and words that you should use when working in the magic circle, for example, but you shouldn't take this as a recipe, like a cake recipe, and if you change things a bit to your liking, your magic will not work, or maybe you'll disappear into a puff of dust. That won't happen. The great thing about paganism and witchcraft is that you can tailor your practice and your beliefs to your liking. Whatever suits you best and resonates within you is the right thing to do. So again, with Scott Cunningham, he says, don't curse if you forget a word, mispronounce something, or entirely lose your train of thought. This is quite natural and is usually a manifestation of fatigue, stress, or a desire to be word perfect in circle. And then he goes on to say about the invocation of the goddess and the god. Invocation requires a willingness to open yourself to the goddess and the god. It needn't be a pristine performance. If the invocation isn't sincere, it won't contact the god and the goddess within, and the ritual that follows will be nothing more than form. Also, if you do not wish to read from pieces of paper or a book during your ritual, if you think that's distracting for you, and if you are not good at saying texts from memory, you can always use music, dancing, gestures, movements, singing. You can play an instrument, you can use meditation, you can do journey work. Even the magic circle, the casting of the magic circle can be done in silence. For example, A Witch's Mirror by Levannah Morgan. She says, in witchcraft, the circle is cast to create a sacred working space and to honor the gods, the spirits, and the elements. It's also a protection. Nothing can enter the circle unbidden. The circle may be cast silently, with all words spoken inwardly, in the mind. When working alone in a wild place, this can be the most effective way to do it. And I think this is very true sometimes when you are outdoors in nature and, I don't know, everything around you is just so overwhelming that words aren't necessary. So if you are not good with words, there's always another way to work your ritual in a way that you will feel more confident. Other things you can do to help you enter your magical mind, and these are things that I highly recommend. They are the purification of self and the purification of the space in which you're going to work. There are 2 chapters here on these 2 subjects. What I like to do about purification of the space, I physically sweep the floors. I like to have the floor very clean in the first place, and while I'm sweeping, I like to have an incense and music on, and I imagine all the negativity. I can visualize all the negativity of the everyday life just going away. I usually do this the evening before my ritual because I tend to get very tired when I'm sweeping and tidying my flat, and I also like to do the dishes so they're not piling up in the sink. It makes me very uncomfortable. So I get tired, so I do that in the day prior to the ritual. And on the day of the ritual, I like to take a good shower or bath with herbs and incense and oils, and I do breathing exercises, and I use meditation as well, so that I can try and shake off all the chaos and negativity of everyday life. Scott Cunningham about the purification of self. This is truly a purification, an attempt to shrug off problems and thoughts of your everyday world. This is a time for calmness, for peace. But, attention, this emphasis on purification shouldn't be taken out of context. Our bodies aren't breeding grounds for astral entities. We're exposed to negativity every day, however, from scenes of carnage and destruction in the papers and on the news, and from our own dark thoughts. So these purifications aren't intended to chase away demons and devils. They simply free us of some of this negativity. What else? About working outdoors. If you want to work outdoors in nature, one thing that you should pay attention is everywhere you go, every place has its own spirits, its own energies, so you should be careful and try and sense if you are welcome in that place you chose to work your magic. Levannah Morgan talks about this very nicely. When working magic outdoors, I'm always aware that the place I have chosen to work has its own spirits. Every tree, rock, and stream has its own guardian spirits. Before I begin working, I will take some time to sense the spirits of the place, honor them, and ask for their permission to work there. Spirits will let you know if they do not want you. You will feel uncomfortable and even maybe physically sick. Perhaps you will lose things and fall over. And then she gives an example on Bodmin Moor in Cornwall, a place that's called the Rough Tor. Don't work there, the Rough Tor. Try to avoid the Rough Tor. I had to turn on the camera again because I forgot to say that. Although I said this book's very formulaic, and it is a little bit. If you've read it, you know. I forgot to say there's a lovely chapter that's called Myth, Ritual and Symbolism. That's quite worth a reading. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope I've answered the question. Do not worry too much and be happy. See you soon.